betchel was played on the street, or where you had a big pavement, you know, and you had a little thing called a picky, a little flat stone, and you drew out what you call a bed, the game. You drew it out and you could have 3 there and 3 there, all done with the chalk, and you went around hopping on one foot and put the picky into this, that beds they called them, and then you push into the other, and if you got around without putting it on the line, you could claim a bed and put your name in it, and the next one then that would go would have to hop the picky beyond your bed and into the next, you know, without tipping the line again. And that we used to play that for ages now when the nights would get longer, you know, and then the tops still around, I wonder. You know, there's a little round cone with a nail at the bottom, and you could spin it with your 2 hands that way. You spun the top, and you had what you call a beckles, a stick with a twine on it, and you hit the top and you kept it spinning. And out there, up and down the main street, we often did it because the cars were very nanny at the time, you know, and you could put a colour on top of the top, and the colour would look lovely, you know, spinning around. So you had other little ones, they called them long toms, like a mushroom, and you had one of those, and who you sell them are Lunrigans over, and Hennessy's, there were Miss Launders down the main street, they sold the tops. You had little fat ones and slim ones and all kinds. What else? You had skipping then, with the skipping rope, and then you'd have community skipping, that you'd have the big rope, and this would usually be under the light there at about 7 o'clock, and there'd be a light near your home, and we'd all gather, and 2 would have the rope, and you'd have the different rhymes. You know, what's it, a tinker, tailor, soldier, sailor, captain, colonel, cowboy, thief. This is who we'd marry, and whoever we'd stop at, that would be the man we'd marry. He could be a thief. So that was another one, and I suppose in the line of playing and that, the green would have been up there at the time, and over on the green it was all grass, and we built our houses, so-called houses, with little stones and bedrooms, and we had the dolls, and took everything we could out of the house to make it nice. And as my mother used to say, you're going to bring those back again now. You know, it takes us through that. So that was another form of activity.
Did you play games around the fire?
Sitting on the fire?
We did, of course. You played the cards, bigger your neighbour. You still play that. That's gone down in history. And of course you tell stories, ghost stories. That would be, if you would call it a game, we'd all go off frightened to bed if they wanted to get rid of us.
Where did you live when you were young?
I lived in Rocklow Road. As you go up to school, I was born in the middle house there, and I had an uncle's called Croaks. I was Croak, Agnes Croak, and my 2 uncles lived at one side, and we lived in the middle, and people by the name of Greens lived in the bottom one, where my mother ended up afterwards. But I was born there, love, and I think we came out of it when I'd have been about 8 or 9. We went up the Green to live up the High Green near Finnekenny up there.
Did many people leave? Was there much immigration in those days?
There wasn't in the early days, but there was then in the, whatever, 30s, is it, I think? Mm-hmm. It would have been the 30s, quite a lot of people. And they left uneducated. Mm. That was the sorry thing about it. But they survived, and they came back well dressed, and you'd be proud of them, the ones who did go. And whole families went also.
Do you remember the fair days in Fethard?
I do, well, I do. Going down, we used to go around the valley sometimes, that there'd be too many cattle, and our parents would say go all around the valley, there wouldn't be many there, you know. And on a wet day it was terrible, you went in with spatters on the back of your legs. You did. And it was a great day for the town, fair day.
And it would start very early in the morning on the farm.
It started after 5 o'clock, they started coming in, and some poor little kids driving the cattle would be out half the night. There was a terrible tragedy up Rocklow Road. near Blacksbridge they called it, a young man was drowned following a cow that went in over it. And what was it? But a big lake. Very sad, you know.
What year was that now? In the 30s maybe?
I don't know, Rita. Now, one thing I fall down on are dates.
No, that doesn't matter anyway.
Dates
That's
and things. I can't think of those. But it was, I suppose, during that coffee van time, you know.
Yes.
They're coming in.
And you ran that coffee van, did you?
I was on that coffee van before I was married. I said I got married out of the coffee van. I got a present of a pair of sheets and a lumber rope from the O'Connells. So I didn't go very much after that, but it was given up then. The fairs were given up, you know, and the mart was open up there, and that was the finish of it. But it was a pity really, because it was a great day for trading, you know, for the town, you know.
Yes.
Everyone did well, but everyone washed up then outside after, you know, hosing down the pathways.
And people used to put up gates.
They used to have the gates up. Even here they had little ones after, you know, to keep the cattle away from the front of the house, you know. It was great.
Good days, I'd say, yeah. And would you be all day out in the coffee?
We wouldn't treat it. I'd usually go down about 6 o'clock. To be open about 5 or half 5, and we had so many hours to do, you know, say 2 hours or more, and it would finish about 11. But it was during the war years that went on also. I remember one helper deliberately making a big pot of tea, and it was nearly over. But I remember bringing that teapot to her home. She carried it and I carried it, because the tea was rationed during the war years. And they'd heat it up. They'd heat up that.
Nothing wasted.
Yeah, wouldn't waste it. But I knew she deliberately made the pot of tea, because it was near closing time. But you're fair dues to her. Do you know?
And the people coming to town, I suppose, were all men and boys. Like.
Men and boys, Rita, mostly. The cattle dealers came, and then the young lads came who were minding the cattle. And they got a ticket. Mrs Hughes sat where the country markets are on a forum in there and gave the ticket. We didn't handle any money, the ticket then. It was sandwiches and barbecue and buns.
Very good.
It was great.
Do you remember the foot and mouth?
I do indeed. I do. It was dreadful, and I remember the myxomatosis starting. Should the poor rabbits should be out walking, and I never tasted or wouldn't a rabbit after that. And they were really once a week food. I'd get 2 rabbits. I'd say 2 shillings, shilling each, half a crown maybe for 2. And I often skinned them also. Took off the thing, as Carl said, you were to pluck it. I thought, pluck the rabbit. But anyway, you'd skin it. Well, they were the nicest thing. Did you
We used to get them at home.
They were beautiful. And we could stuff the rabbit after. They were terribly clean, you know. And after washing them and doing them, you put the stuffing into the stomach and pull the legs all around like that, twist it around, and tie the 4 legs to the back legs, and roast the 2 in the oven. Just the stage in it. Lovely.
And was the dinner always in the middle of the day?
Always, because the man of the house came home. Even we had it with my family, 2nd generation. And I often regretted it. They're running home for this half hour and trying to gobble down the dinner. And if some of them weren't good eaters, they went off. But it was evening time, it should have been, when we were all relaxed. Do you know?
Exactly.
Of course we had tea, or you'd make buns, or you'd have something for the tea. But the dinner should have been kept. But it was because of the man coming in. It was the thing to do was the dinner. And whether the man would agree or not, I don't know, we never put it to him. And I'd say he wouldn't have minded.
Yeah.
But it didn't dawn on us.
Yes.
The only people who had evening dinner would be the Stokeses, the doctor and all these kind of people.
Yeah.
They had dinner at 8 o'clock in the night. But we didn't dream of it.
No.
It wasn't done.
No.
The people work in the morning before food.
Did they work? Oh, they did. And we were all supposed to go to Mass too. 8 o'clock Mass. There wasn't any later one because you were going to school at 9. And you had to put your hand up when you went when you were saying the first prayers, to know who was at Mass, which I think was very wrong, dear. Because, I mean, little girls going to school shouldn't have to do anything to get up earlier in the morning. And God wouldn't want you to do that either. But the nuns wanted us to do it. And we often turned a fib and put our hand up. Because we'd be asked, why didn't we? And one of the ones who would be there would be looking at you under their eyes. You know you'd be after telling the fib.
Did you eat meat and...
We did, except on Friday.
And would you eat fish then on the Friday?
Very seldom, because we didn't have a fish shop. We had one fish shop across the road, but you had to order the fish and it had to come from Clonmel. And you had to pay part of the carriage then. Everyone paid a bit of what it cost to get the fish out. So it was, we weren't in the way of it here.
Right.
But sometimes a man would come and sell herrings or mackerel outside the post office. You know.
So fish wasn't that common?
No, it wasn't.
I actually remember the man with the box of fish.
You do.
Do you remember his name?
I do.
Fennis, was he?
Fennessy.
Was it Jimmy Fennessy?
From Clonmel.
God, I didn't think of that for years. And
Yeah.
you have a box
He did.
of fish on the street. I remember that.
And he do well.
What kind of food did you have for special occasions?
Well, I suppose we had the best we could muster up, I suppose, whatever was there. But I remember we didn't have an oven in my young days. And my mother used to make bread on a pan, you know, a griddle. And she'd have a thing called a brand, a three-legged thing, and she'd put that down on top of the open fire. And she'd put the pan on top of it and a bit of butter. And she'd make her bread then, and she'd put it on that. She'd give it a half an hour. They call it griddle bread. And she'd give it a half an hour on one side and turn it on the other. And she used to even put curtains in it. Of course, there were barn bracks and that. We had 4 bakeries in the town. And they all made their different things, you know.
And at Christmas now, would you have the turkey or goose or what would you have?
Well, I don't know whether we had turkey or not. We had chickens anyway. You know, my father was a postman and he knew all the country people, so he'd get chickens or the turkey then.
Are there any landmarks around Fethard associated with any legends?
I don't know any. Nothing comes to mind. Of course, there are old buildings and the old walls and stuff like that, and the gates.
The gateways. So you were brought up near the gateway?
I was brought up near the gateway, and during the fair day, they'd get money from the fair day men coming in. They'd have to pay to come in. It was, what did they call it?
Toll.
Toll.
At the gates.
Oh, once a year that was, you know. Once a year.
And the townsland near you there would be Sparragale, would it, for you?
It was Sparragale.
Yeah. What's the origin of that name?
The gate and a half, you know.
Yes, yeah.
It was the big arch and then the small one. Gate and a half.
Right.
Oh, that's really Sparragale.
Yeah.
And outside the gate then it'd be Rockler Road, which is north.
The gate we go through Sparragale.
North Gate, isn't it? They call it North Gate is lovely, isn't it?
Isn't it? It's a nice name, yeah.
It's a nice name, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like you were saying this was the Garda house.
This was the Garda house.
And the old army barracks then was...
That was next door. And our back garden would I'd say some of the barracks, when you walk out there, you're in where the old barracks was, it's the mark now. We have a gate. We could go out onto the mark, a door. It was always there. And you could go out there. And that was the old barracks, on the land of it up there. And sure, there was a beautiful house up there as well, the real barracks, you know, next door. But this, as far as I know, Rita, this is about 300 years old.
This
house.
imagine.
Easily. Easily.
Yeah.
And can you remember it as a Garda station?
Oh God, yeah. That's not terribly long ago, sure. It's
No,
not.
I
You would remember that,
yeah.
Rita. The
I'd say
Healy's.
it was
The Healy's
60s.
lived upstairs,
That's
sure,
right.
didn't
Yeah.
they? There was nothing done to the kitchen until we came in and did it up a bit, you know. But it was always a guard barracks.
Yeah. What year did you come here? I'd say.
We're here 42 years, Rita. Or 44.
Yeah.
42 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I remember we were here. We were 25 years married. My husband and myself, and now my daughters and sons are 25 years married, and nearly 30. I thought we were 35.
Yeah. Time flies.
So you'll be talking about years.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
No.
They
no,
just
it
go.
flies.
That's all.
Oh, yeah.
They fly. I suppose when you're getting older, they do too. You know.
Do you know any local songs?
That should not sleep them on.
Sleep them on and course, the long way to Tipperary is famous as well, isn't it? And I suppose there would be ballads and things around. You know,
didn't Paddy Carn? Do you remember Paddy?
He wrote a song about Fethard. It started off and went all around the town. I suppose it hurt someone and others didn't mind. It was a parody on Fethard, you know.
I wonder who'd have that. We must try and get it.
But it would be available, Rita.
Yeah, Jimmy O'Shea might have it, is it?
Yeah, sure. I know some of it, but I wouldn't know it all. You know the
Say the little bit you know.
Oh, well, I start.
I should know.
Nick Grady was the best old sort at all. And John Kendrick was always, he was like Santa Claus at the door, John Kendrick, that would be your relation. And up then Johnny Skane sold ball bearings. If you want ball bearings, called into Johnny Skane. Flings for style and fashion, and that without delay. And if you want a corset, call into Katie J. And Aunt Maud's Candy Store, Maud Green, and Jim Stapleton, and the Dowlings, and Michael MacDonald, and Paddy Heenan, and a man of great renown. You had to frame the ticket that first brought him to town. Things like that, you know, something about everyone. But I just, God, there was an awful lot of conflict into it.
Yeah.
He was a real character.
He was, yeah.
He went from Killinall direction, wasn't
He was up there beyond Carlan.
Yeah.
And he had one leg, the other was a cock leg.
Have you any stories about the town wall and what did it look like when you were young?
It looked the same. It looked worse than it is now because nobody had done anything to it. And the people who did do it is great credit due to. You know, for starting it off. Sure, I mean, that one down the valley is wonderful, isn't it?
It was only a room.
You know, that it has blended in already. But it was a pity that it was given up, isn't it? That it ended, you know.
Do you remember the shop, it's a bakery in the Abbey Mill?
I do, the Coffee's Bakery, I do. And my husband worked there and worked on their van. He was a driver and he went around the country with the bread. It was a great service and it was a great bakery. They used to send bracks all over the country, Coffee's bracks. They were famous for them. But that was it. We had 4 bakeries in town. We had Slattery's had a bakery, Heenan's had a bakery, and Stapleton's had a bakery. That, you know, there were no vans were coming in with bread with.
And when you were younger, would you have gone to Clonmel for shopping, or would you have done all your shopping here?
No, all at home. All at home.
And you could get everything in town.
You would. You see, nobody had cars really, and the train went in twice a day. The 1 o'clock went in, and you'd win to get a photo taken or something, I thought, you know, or a great treat. And I remember when we'd be going in, my uncle would say, "Don't forget to bring a bit of bread now for the mayor's dog." He used to know what he was saying. Not with the mayor's dog. The mayor's lad.
What do you think are the main changes in Fethard over the last half century?
All the traffic that was one. I'm usually upstairs during the day, and I've never in my life seen such traffic. And I think they're detouring in order not to pay the toll. They're coming through Fethard. I don't know, did anyone but myself think about that. But you have big trucks that have nothing to do with Fethard.
Is there anything else you want to say yourself? That
It's great.
Well, things I remember the Eucharistic Congress in the 1932. I remember being down outside the post office, and there Hal Goldsborough was married in there, their dad, and a radio in the sitting room window, and all the square, all the street packed with people listening to John McCormack singing. That was the 1932, was it? I'd have been 9 at the time. And I remember when John McCormack singing and my mother crying, you know, with emotion, listening to hear this thing over the radio. That was one of the things that really changed people's lives on the radios. And to this day, I love the radio.
Yeah.
I love the radio because you can use your imagination with it, can't you?
That's true. Yeah.
Another thing I remember is the parochial house being built.
Do you?
I do. We were in Rockler Road at the time, and going up there and getting these shavings and Madge Hurley, putting them into our hair for curlers, you know, thinking we had ringlets. But I remember that as well. I remember missions being on, they called them missions down in the church, you know, and the people would leave the ass and carts at Wall's Gate, you know, in the lane,
Yes.
and they'd go down to the mission, and we'd be letting on, we'd be going off in the Aston car as kids, you know, driving. So I remember my father one night coming out and said, it was the women's night, and he said, do you want to go for a drive? And I said, oh, come you do, Daddy. So brought her around the Ass anyway, and the Ass thought he was going home, so he held for leather up the road anyway. And he said, we better go back, or they'll be out of the church. But you know, we nearly had to carry the Ass back to Fethard, because he wanted to go home. He didn't want to go back talking about a mule. Well, we were only barely back when it was over. All the women, I remember my father keeping her talking, the poor Ass would be cooled down. And I think there was 4 of us in the car, kids, you know. Yeah. And we had great sport. We went for walks and up the Rockler Road, and there was a spring well, and the 2 boreens, the 1 boreen and the 2 boreens, and up where Dr. Condon is living, there was a kind of a screen with trees at the back of it, and there was a fairy fort there, really and truly, the fairy fort.
Yes.
And the poem, I used to think that's where, you know, up the Airy Mountain and down the Rushy Lane, you know that one? That, I used to think that took place up there. To the pictures.
Yeah.
I remember going to hear the Sound of Music and different things.
Yeah.
Rebecca. Exactly the thing that left our bikes.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Do you know that bikes were great?
They were, weren't they? Yeah.
They were great. A bike in a family was a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
So
Would you have had a bike each, or would it just be one bike?
Jenny, we didn't have a bike each. We had one. Sure. Someone had had it then the day before, and you go looking for it. They could be after leaving it outside the shop. But it wasn't stolen. It
No,
wouldn't be
it's still
stolen.
there. Yeah.
And you could leave the key in the door too. You know.